Welcome to Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with national and local thought leaders on issues impacting the South Florida Black community. Now introducing our host, Anne-Marie Sorrell.
Hello and welcome to Legacy Leaders. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Today I am joined by Bill Diggs, community leader, award-winning business executive, and the executive director of Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust, or MD. Welcome, Bill Diggs.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you. It's always great being in your presence. You're just an amazing individual who's done so much in our South Florida community. So it's always an honor to have you on the show. Before we, dive in, just briefly, for those who may not be familiar with you, Bill Diggs, which I'm not sure who that would be, but for those who may not be, tell us a little quick detail about your background.
Well, I am a graduate of Clark College in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in Miami now. My second tour of duty down here is over 25 years. I've been the past CEO of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, past CEO of the Morning Family Foundation, and done some things in between where I was the CEO of the Broward Health Foundation up in Broward County. And now I have been the executive director of the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust for about a year and a half. So I'm a dyed-in-the-wool government veteran now. But no, I've done a lot of things down here. I'm one of the co-founders of the 100 Black Men of South Florida. It's part of my proudest accomplishment, where we've taken kids from elementary school through high school and helped to pay their way through college. Founded that when I was about 26, 27 years old, and we're now going into our 30th year. And it has just been an awesome ride. And I just enjoy, helping folk that look like me in our community.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you helping people in our community. So let's talk about MD and the work that the agency does in the community. What exactly is MD? What is the work that you all do, and what are the focal areas?
So the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust was founded after the McDuffie riots, when they found there to be, after some real discussion, a lot of injustices in regards to the treatment of folk that look like you and I in Miami-Dade County. The commission had the presence of mind to create our agency. At the time, it was called the Metropolitan Miami Action Plan Trust. And over the past 40 years, it's morphed into the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust. We consider ourselves to be the go-to organization for economic development in the Black community from a municipal perspective. We're one of the only agencies of its kind, almost in the country, that is squarely focused on Black economic empowerment. We sit on a four-legged stool, right? We have economic development, we have youth services, we have housing, and then we have research and advocacy. Those are the four programmatic areas. We've added and changed them over the past year since I've been here to try to make sure that they're relative to the issues that are affecting Black Miami.
Then when you talk about relative to the issues that are affecting Black Miami, what are some of the critical barriers that impact the economic growth of Black residents in Miami-Dade County, based on your experience prior to MD and as well as now being executive director at MD?
Well, first of all, the issue of our day is housing affordability, right? Listen, it costs a lot. Miami is ground zero for affordable housing in the United States. And we recognize that it costs a lot to live in Miami-Dade County. And consequently, at the bottom of that spectrum, if you will, is Black Miami-Dade County residents. So we're focused on that, trying to make sure that we can help people to get home. Because Anne-Marie, you and I know the center of wealth in almost every other demographic, ethnic group in the country is based on home ownership. That's the way you begin to accumulate wealth and be able to help your family to grow and to prosper. Kids go to college because mom's got a house, right? And so there are other ways to get there, but as a general rule, we believe that the most important thing you can do is to own your home. So consequently, that's our biggest issue. But then we also have all the other issues around systemic racism that exists out there. There's an assault right now on just helping everyone to understand the importance of the contributions that folk of color have made in regards to not just building the United States, but building Miami-Dade County, building the city of Miami, and all of its, small municipalities in this area. And so we are focused on trying to make sure that we can enrich the lives of our youth by helping them to understand the value that their forefathers built. Because when there's pride, then there's growth. And when there's growth, there's real attainment towards success, right? You have to be from a community that embraces that so that you can feel good about what you're doing. So that's a big issue with us in regards to youth services. But not notwithstanding, one of the largest employers of folk of color in Miami-Dade County are nonprofits. And the reason for that proliferation is because there's a lot of help that needs to be given. But we also believe that it's the job of the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust to increase competency and to be able to build these Black families where they do have jobs, right? So we're after economic empowerment. We're about helping Black businesses to be funded at a major level. So that's a big deal for us. Matter of fact, since I've been here, before we came, we were only giving up $2,500 for a small business grant to a Black-owned business. Just yesterday, and by the way, that number was somewhere around $40,000 in total for a whole year, right? So we had, $2,500 and that we gave out $40,000 in total. Yesterday, we gave out $350,000 in grants at $10,000 per company, right? So it's a serious increase in lift. And I've got to thank my board. I have to thank the Board of County Commissioners that's being led, of course, by Oliver Gilbert, our very elected chairman who supports us in a major way, and by our mayor, Daniela Levine Cava, who has embraced the ideas that our organization has come up with to try to move the needle. So that's kind of who we are, and that's what we do. We believe, at the end of the day, housing, economic development, and making sure that our youth are taken care of is a big deal. And by the way, our fourth leg, which is our research and advocacy, what we've done is we've created a think tank so that we can now begin to at least discuss, talk about issues of the day that are affecting our people so that we can be, if you will, a lot more active in regards to developing policies around Black life. And so that's the fourth leg of what we do.
That's wonderful. And can you elaborate maybe on just some specific programs that people can actually maybe apply to or get involved with?
Yes, I can. So let me say this. When our housing program, we have a down payment assistance program, which is the legacy program. We've had it forever. And we recognize that Miami-Dade is, the Black population is only 16%. Over 75% of the dollars that we've given out in all the years past for our down payment assistance program have gone to Hispanic and whites, right? And so we've done a good job to make sure that our numbers are related to what the population looks like. But again, you have to understand why we were created. We were created to help Black families to get to the next level. And so we recognize that we weren't doing the best job of getting these dollars to the folk in the Black community. So we created another program, and it's called a rehabilitation program. We call it RAP. And basically what RAP is, it allows for you to be able to get $50,000 toward the improvement of your existing home. We're trying to buy back the block, Anne-Marie. We want to make sure that grandma's house that you as a child grew up in, that you don't have any interest in living in anymore, if we can rehab that house and you can come back home to Liberty City, to Alapata, to Brown Sub, to Miami Gardens, to North Miami and areas like that. So that program is very aggressive because basically what it does is, instead of you having to qualify for a loan for your home for down payment, which by the way, because this is an affordable housing program, you qualify sometimes doesn't really match up to the person and their desire to have a home because, gaining credit is tough. And so this RAP program, if you will, in a major way allows for you to be able to do it very differently. So what we've done is we've developed housing programs to help with construction, development, and also rehabilitation. All that has happened in the last, year since I've been here. We've developed these programs because we want to be more responsive to our community in a way that's going to make sense. And we're really, really proud of the fact that we've been able to do so. So we're like, say, for instance, last year, we would pray somewhere between 10 and 12 down payment assistance loans, only up to $14,000 per, for the entire year. So 120 of those or so, right? I've got over 200 applications right now for our RAP program, all from the urban core. So at the end of the day, we've been able to be responsive. And yes, we have to go through the process. So my point is, you need to reach out to our office and see if your home qualifies for that. But in other words, we are now dealing with people who actually have homes that need to be rehabilitated. And you can contact our office, and find out more about the program. But we're really excited about it.
No, that's wonderful, especially considering, the housing market being so overpriced right now and people being priced out of it. So if you already have a home, can't get a new home, it's great that there's a program to rehab that home that you already have. So that's amazing. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'm just saying, we're trying to buy back the block. We want for you to come home. It's important. Listen, right now, when you take a look at the 13 commissioners, and we have many of these areas that are supported by commissioners of color because they're related to the people that are there. And we need to make sure that we have people that are sensitive to our issues. The only way that can happen is that we can have active communities that actively vote, but that have active people that feel the way you do. And that's what's important. We're trying to slow down gentrification with this process.
And that's wonderful. That's great. And more agencies need to have a focus on that approach. Going back to the business grants, will there be another round of funding for businesses to apply for? Or have, those who didn't know may have missed that boat already?
Great question. So we don't ever want you to miss the boat. So we're continually to supply these grants. Black Business Month is coming up in August, and it's a big deal for us. It's led, of course, by our commissioners, and they're going to be allocating dollars for us to be able to make people aware of the different things that we're doing. We will relaunch this program. Now, the $10,000 that we gave out were for businesses that had been in business for over 3 years. They had a successful track record. They had cash and revenues of upwards of $100,000 a year or so, right, in annual revenues. This program is for startup businesses this round. So we're going to go back to a smaller number in regards to what's going to be available, but it is going to be grant driven, and we will be able to give you those dollars if you qualify. And so we're working out now what the actual qualifications are going to be. So stand by, but we're going to be launching that hopefully by the end of July, and we plan to give those grants out by the end of August. So yes, there is another round coming up.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful, especially for startup companies, because there's oftentimes not anything available to startups. They can't get any type of funding or loans, for their startup businesses. So it's really good that you also have the startup business in mind as well.
Yeah, so, we need to, like I said before, this is the beginning of entrepreneurship, right? And so we want to be able to assist you, to help you to get over the first time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we have a few more questions to go through, Bill Diggs. We're going to take a commercial break, and at the top of the commercial break, we'll come back with those other questions.
I grew up down here in South Florida, so for me, it's a little bit more personal.
For the Mesman & Dover Law Firm, it's about community.
For us, South Florida's our home. You all are our people.
Our family. Our future.
The difference we'll make for you, your loved ones, your kids, matters. Because to us, it's personal.
If you need us, call us 24/7 at 866-954-MORE.
That's 866-954-6673. The Mesman & Dover Law Firm, youraccidentattorneys.com.
At DRT Behavioral Services, we provide culturally sensitive mental health evaluations with thorough treatment plans, incorporating alternative forms of wellness, not just Western traditional medicine. Besides medication management and psychotherapy, we provide education to people in the areas of minority mental health with classes on your diet's impact on mood and sleep hygiene for better rest. We also offer weight loss therapy, massages, and facials. Visit brainlovehelp.com today.
Your organization's ability to thrive is dependent upon your vision, hard work, and the people you employ. Wolf Creek Consulting is a top-rated executive staffing firm specializing in placing professionals in finance, IT, healthcare, and construction. We're a boutique executive staffing firm that focuses on recruiting the best and brightest candidates that are not aggressively pursuing opportunities, but are keeping their options open. From recruitment to workforce management, we offer solutions that reduce your human cost and turnover. We work with clients under several different options to include permanent placement, temporary, and temp to hire. Our clients are our partners, and we work to understand the job requirements and skills required for a candidate to be successful. Intelligent Staffing Solutions. To learn more, please give us a call.
Miami-Dade Group. We are the largest distributors of Black content in the state of Florida. We editorialize the success and the achievement of the Black South Florida community. Our platforms are print, digital, and broadcast. We are Black excellence.
When quality care is a priority for you and your family, choose Pediatric and Family Health and Wellness Center.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Muy bien, gracias a Dios.
Okay. Bien. How are you?
Welcome back, Mr. Diggs, with Executive Director of MDEET. So there's some buzz on the street. And, I'm always advocate, especially being in public relations and being a publicist myself. It's so important for each person to be able to tell their own story and not have someone else shape the narrative for them. So there's, apparently some buzz on the street about it being some challenges over at MD. And in addition to that, there have been some claims or criticism about the agency and some purchases and, things of that nature. So would love for you to have this opportunity, Bill Diggs, to share your story and your narrative.
Well, I'm going to try to do this while I can smile, right? I told someone before, and this is what I always tell my young Black boys that have been in the Leadership Academy, which is part of 100 Black Men over the years. I've always said, it's not about if they come for you as a successful Black man, it's about when. Tragically, this is taking place by a legacy newspaper, the Miami Times, of which, the CEO is a young man that I actually used to mentor. And so it's sad that I didn't get a telephone call from him, saying, hey, this is what's coming, right? I think journalistic integrity is at play here, and that's unfortunate. If I've learned nothing else, it's about when you do good work, you should be questioning. When you use the public dollars, there should be, continual pressure to make sure that you do what you should do correctly. I will say to you that this is really just the basis of some disgruntled employees, two of which I've terminated, right? And I have. They have themselves were let go, and none of these things were issues prior to them being let go. And they went to the Times. And as a matter of fact, I've always told people that I think that you ought to consider the source. You ought to know who the source is. You ought to be able to ask the question, is this a person of integrity? Is this guy, or girl, do they have a criminal background? I mean, you need to be able to understand, kind of who you're dealing with. So let's get into it, because I think that these purchases that they talked about, there's our partner has always been the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. As you know, Eric knows, their present CEO has done a wonderful job. And when we're doing economic development in our community, we bring along our partners every day. We had a wonderful event that we had at a Black-owned restaurant, and we were celebrating the fact that $1 billion Black business had moved in town, and because we needed to be able to pay for the actual facility, And they said, look, you need to secure the date. And, the government doesn't do anything fast. And so they needed a check before I was able to get it done through the county. And so our partner, Eric Knowles, said, look, our agreement is that, the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce is going to pay for wine and food and liquor, things we can't pay for, and then we'll pay for the facility. Well, the bottom line was that we weren't able to do that. And so they paid for the facility and we reimbursed them. Okay. And so we didn't do anything wrong, so, that's exactly how that happened. And then there's this whole, crazy issue around Jazz in the Gardens, and they brought that up about the fact that we don't need to be there because, we're spending money to have a party. And I kind of laughed and I said, Jazz and Gardens is one of the best parties in the country now. I mean, what, past Mayor Shirley Gibson, past Mayor Oliver Gilbert, and present Mayor Rodney has done. Rodney Harris has done to create that environment is amazing. But what we also realize is that many of those patrons that are there are based in our community and did not know, and until we got there, who the heck is MD, right? Who we are and what we do. So we partner with Bank of America. We partner with a local lending organization. And we had all of the mayors and commissioners come by and meet some of our residents that were there to tell them the story about why we're there. And there's a strong reason now why we've got so many applications of people that are coming to not only purchase homes, but to utilize our program because they now understand our brand. This was an opportunity for us to do that, and so we did that and we were successful at it. And it's funny because as we brought this up, we had some folk that used to work for us that were there. They were participating as well. So, we have learned we've got to go to where the people are at, right? And, traditionally, that's always been the church, right? I mean, we always go to the church, but we realize that when you have organizations and events like this of this nature, then that's what we're going to do. So consequently, we created a contract with Miami Gardens, Jazz in the Gardens. We paid a portion of it that was within our budget. And then the other portions of that were paid by Bank of America and our other partner. So it was a joint venture because the price made sense to have all of us there so that we could help people to understand the value of the programs and products that not only we bring but that our partners bring. And by the way, it was amazingly successful. I am going to do it again. We feel that it was the right place for us to be, and we were excited to be there. So we did nothing wrong by having it there. It's just that, we've learned in order to reach our people that we have to go to where they're at, and we can't sit traditionally in these big old white towers called government buildings and expect for folk to find us on the 21st floor of the Overtown Transit Village. It's not going to happen.
Well, Bill, I do an entire seminar around the country about impactful community engagement and reaching people where they are. And so that is absolutely correct. And I will say, I came by the booth at Jazz in the Gardens, and that's when I learned about the additional programs because I didn't even know about all the programs you offered until I came by the booth. So it was very effective from that angle. So I do see, what you're saying about that. So apparently with the people who have left the organization who may be disgruntled, for lack of a better words, do you feel like there may have been a cultural, organization culture issue, or is there organizational culture issue? And then maybe what do you as a leader plan to do to remedy or prevent these types of, if it's preventable, situations from happening in the future?
Well, so I'm going to say this, Emery. You're absolutely right. It is a culture shift. Listen, we're not your standard issue government agency, right? My people are out in the community. We're doing a lot. And by the way, all of this is happening because we've got two dynamic leaders in county government, and now three with our board chair, Hannibal Burton, but with the chair of the county commission, Oliver Gilbert, and with Daniela Levine Cava as our mayor. They are in the community. They're active, and they're demanding that we be as well. She's got this thing called, where there's an open door policy. There's no closed door. Anywhere that you go, you need to be able to learn about county government. And so we are going to the people. Every week, I've got at least 3 events out in the community. Every week. We had an event with over 200 or 300 prospective homeowners on Saturday down in Homestead. There is a culture shift. Some people are shocked that our county employees that we've all of a sudden now decided to get up out of these seats. Some folk in the county government will come to work, bring their lunch, sit there all day long, take these 2 15-minute breaks and take an hour break for lunch and call it a day. You can't work for the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust doing that. We don't have anybody who sits at a desk all day long and does that. We are reaching our community. I've got standards in regards to how we ought to communicate to the public. And then when the public interacts or has an issue with us, you've only got X amount of hours before you respond. And by the way, I want to be clear that if you don't respond, it's a reflection on this agency. And we are trying to make sure that we reach and have good relationships with folks that are out there. So yeah, when you don't work and it doesn't happen, there are certain rules and regs that the Human Resources Department has. Both of these employees, were under probation. They did not succeed through that, and we terminated them. And then after we terminated them, then they began to go to, the Times and have these discussions. Matter of fact, even on yesterday, we had a board meeting so that I could bring my board members up to speed, and one of those terminated employees came to the board meeting. We have public meetings and you're able to address the public or say whatever you're going to say. Sat there, didn't say a word. And I just find it that it's almost egregious to think that, you were terminated months ago, you're coming to our meetings and you're bringing the Miami Times with you. It's like, all of a sudden like, you've got a job working for the Times. I just find it disingenuous, when that happens, and I'm just not understanding how the only Black agency within the county who is doing things right, that a lot of people are talking about and doing things well, that you have, a long-term, if you will, multi-generational Black newspaper, that is, out here, utilizing these yellow journalism ways to be able to do what they want to do. It's tragic.
Definitely understood. So, Bill, thank you for sharing, your side of the story. Again, I think that's always important for someone to tell their story and not let others control the whole narrative. Tell our viewers how, because again, you have amazing programs over at MD. Tell our viewers how they can get involved, how they can maybe tap into some of the resources and programs at the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust.
Well, it's very simple. You can go to miamidade.gov/MD, MDEAT, and all of our information there. We have our website there where you can get our telephone number and you can give us a telephone call to learn more about who we are and what we do.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Bill Diggs. Again, you're tuned in with myself, Bill Diggs, who's the Executive Director of Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust, that are known as MD. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Sorrell, and see you next time on Legacy Leaders.